I just want to say a big thank you to Arco at Outlaw Edge. He gave me a fabulous shout out in his video that he filmed building his pipe anvil. And it was just a real, I don't know, I just don't have the words to say thanks. It's just a great shout out. And then he mentioned me throughout the video along with a few other fabricators. And coming from a guy like Arco, I mean, this guy is closing in on 25,000 subscribers. I'm just a little podunk channel. I don't even have 100 subscribers yet. And for a guy, you know, from YouTube fame like Arco, who is known throughout the world in the hot rod community, to take time to mention me, it's just blows me away. So I just want to say a special thanks to Arco. Because of his shout out, I got a number of new subscribers. And I want to say welcome to those, you know, to my little shop and my little doings here. And thanks for joining us. And yeah, I'm speechless. It's great.
Hey everybody, hiding out in the shop today. A wind is howling outside, so I'm inside. I figured I'd show you some of my tools that I've acquired over the years. Most of these I've had for, gosh, 40 plus years, and this isn't everything. This is just kind of a smattering, but hey, I figured I'd share with you what I have, what I used it for, what I still use it for, and yeah, let's get started. This is my Duct Hammer. I bought this brand new in 1977, I believe. I was working for a little sheet metal shop up in Bremerton, Washington. It was all residential HVAC stuff, and so I don't even remember what brand this is. It might be a Malco or something like that. It's got the wrapped leather handle around the steel handle. And boy, I've used the heck out of this thing over the years. It's been a good hammer. Still a good hammer. It's a little rough around the edges, but hey, when you're a tool that old, you get used. These are 4-inch dividers. I've got several pairs of these. These are Starretts, I believe. Yeah, Starretts. And I've got a couple of others, Brown and Sharp, and a couple others in the cabinet. These are Pextos. These are 8-inch. If you want to swing a little wider arc. And then I've got these big Mongo 12 inches here. Once you get over a certain size, they get to be a little unwieldy. And instead of using something this tall and unwieldy to try to scribe an arc, you go to trammel points. These guys right here. And these are adjustable with this. This is spring steel. You squeeze that in, and then you can extend these bars out to the limit. I forget how long these are. I think I can swing, as it is, I think I can swing a 3-foot arc with these. Of course, your scribers on the end, those are replaceable. I believe these are Pextos also. And then I can't even remember what the heck I was laying out decades ago. I made another 18-inch extension. So whatever I was laying out, it was huge. This is a Scriber. This thing is old because that's a rose handle on it. And then, of course, a scratch-all. The difference between the two is the scratch-all has a much, boy, let's see if we can do this. Sorry for the dirty hands. Has a much blunter tip because you also use that as a light center punch on sheet metal. Not with a Scriber, because you have a much sharper sharper point, obviously, for scribing lines. Protractor, these are handy. You got to lay out angles and dangles. Protractor is very handy tool. This has got a swing of 180 degrees, and this is stainless steel. I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, and between working HAVAC, I also worked a lot of architectural sheet metal, which meant, being out in the weather with your tools. And, they get wet, they get rusty, and so on and so forth. This is a pair of crimpers, primarily used for HAVAC, crimping the end of pipes to create a slip joint so you can slip one end inside the other, same diameter duct, but it's got other uses for shrinking sheet metal. I've got another pair that has single blades instead of the triple blades. The ubiquitous double cuts. Most everybody uses the electric version nowadays, or the air version. But man, I cut miles of metal with these back in the day. These are Wiss. And then dovetail notchers. Again, primarily used for HAVAC, but it could have some other applications. Notching sheet metal. This here, these are worn out. Man, I use the heck out of these. Most people nowadays refer to these as seamers. We always called them bar folders back when I was a young guy in the 70s coming up in the trade. 3/8 on one end, 1/2 inch on the other. We'd use these on the end of rectangular duct for forming S and drive cleats, or I should say drive cleats. You put the S over the wide end and the drive cleat over the narrow end, and we'd form the drive cleats. Then the drive cleat on the sheet metal with these. Here guys talk too much about tongs. When you think of tongs, you think of blacksmithing. But tongs are a big deal in the sheet metal trade. These are both, what are they, Hamlets, Hamilton? I can't remember. Hamlets, I think. Way back in the day, there was an old guy that's all he did was manufacture sheet metal tongs for sheet metal mechanics. And I think his name was Hamlet Tongs. And the offset tongs were rare as hen's teeth, and these were sought after. I was lucky enough to find this pair at a sheet metal supply house one time when I was in looking for something else. I paid through the nose for them, but hey, they paid dividends. And when you're forming drive cleats on ductwork, you typically use the tongs in conjunction with the bar folder. And then these are straight tongs, heavy duty. So if you're bending sheet metal by hand, a pair of tongs is a must. I got gads and gads of snips. I'm not going to show you aviation snips. Everybody knows what those are. But these are my Wiss bull snips. And the name suggests or implies, what these are for. These are kind of blunt-jawed, and they're used for cutting heavy-duty sheet metal. Typically 16 gauge, maybe 18 gauge, something to that effect. Heavy duty. And then I got my Mongo. My Mongo. I don't even call these snips, man. These are shears. They've got a compound lever action jaws. The 90-degree downturn there on the end. Way back in the day, that would fit in the hardy hole of an anvil. And then two guys, one guy would be holding the sheet, and the other guy would be working the handles on the shears here and cutting cutting heavy duty stuff, you know, like 1/8 inch. These still work. They need to be cleaned up. And then here I've got my my Whitney Punch. A lot of you guys have seen these. You know, you can buy these just about anywhere anymore. But I bought these from a sheet metal supplier long time ago for punching holes in sheet metal. Got several different size dies there, and punch and die combinations. Boy, I need to clean this set up. I need to clean all these things up. I'm embarrassed to show them to you now. They're dirty as heck. And then this is not a yardstick. This is a circumference rule. This one is by Lufkin, I believe. Yeah, Lufkin Rule Company. This is a circumference rule. And let's say you wanted to lay out a circle, and instead of getting your calculator out and dividing your diameter by 3.1416, you just look at the scale here, and let's pick on 8. And say you wanted an 8-inch diameter circle. Well, you look down here at the circumference scale, your stretch out would be 25 1/8, based on the circumference scale. And yeah, circumference inches in eighths. Yeah, so that's how that is scaled. And so quick and dirty, you don't have to sit there with a calculator. You just look at your ruler and away you go. On the back side, it has all kinds of useful information. You can look at it at a glance. 1 gallon contains 231 cubic inches. And by the way, for my friends in Australia and Canada and the UK, this is all imperial. Sorry, no metric. You've got, you know, what 1 bushel, what it contains in cubic inches, what a gallon of water weighs. 1 cubic foot of water weighs, you know, all of these useful little tidbits of information that are on here. And way back in the days, of course, sheet metal guys, they made cans, they made buckets, all kinds of cool stuff. Let's see if I can zoom in here. So cans, flat top, a 1 gallon can. The diameter would be 6 3/8 inches, and the height would be 7 1/4 inches. So at a glance, you knew what your stretch outs were going to be when laying that stuff out. So, of course, this is an ancient circumference rule. I've had it, again, for decades. They're still obtainable. They're also available in metric. I don't know if they have the level of detail on the back of these anymore, if they just show your scale and then your circumference scale on it. I really don't know. But anyway, yeah, there you go. There's my tools, some of them anyway. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention my sheet metal gauge, also a wire gauge. I mean, every sheet metal guy's got to have these. And these are Starrett's. But yeah, got to have a sheet metal gauge. You remember here, just real recently, I filmed a series about building a pipe anvil for forming different radiuses, arcs on your sheet metal. And I thought a good companion to that would be diameter gauges. Because, you know, when you're laying out your sheet metal, you want to be able to check it. So I'm going to lay out a 6-inch diameter gauge here real quick. I painted the metal flat black so the layout would show up in it. And, you know, because if I just left this, you know, regular galvanized sheet or just regular cold rolled or sheet, you wouldn't see the layout lines because of lighting and whatever else. So
what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my circumference rule, I'm going to line it up with the bottom edge of the metal here, and I'm going to scribe a line. Oh, that was good. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the left-hand edge here, perpendicular to the other line. Now I've preset my dividers to 3 inches, which is the radius of a 6-inch diameter circle. And I'm going to set it where these two lines intersect right here. And I'm just going to put a little dimple right where those two lines intersect. So the one point of the dividers has a place to set. And I'm going to scribe an arc across this line here. And then again, I'm going to just put a light center punch there. That's going to be the center of my swing, laying out the radius. 3-inch radius equals 6-inch diameter. So I'm just going to scribe an arc. Then I'm going to take my regular old combination square. And these are just reference lines. Scribe a center line there. Then I'm going to go 1/2 inch on each side of that line. And I'll get a close-up here for you in a second so you can see what's going on. Now I'm going to come up 1/2 inch on this center line here. You'll understand why here in a second. Then lastly, where the 6-inch diameter intersects this horizontal line that I scribed there, I'm going to align where it intersects there and where this line here I just scribed line comes down to the end of the sheet metal here. Just scribe that. I'm going to do it on the other side also. Then I'm going to put a light center punch right at the center of this line that's 1/2 inch up from the edge. This is what it looks like close up. So just to recap, I ran a horizontal line here and then one perpendicular to that up the side. And then from this corner, I referenced with the dividers out here, scribed a line, did a little center punch there, and that became the center for my arc, 3-inch radius to give me a 6-inch diameter profile here. Sorry. There we go, 6-inch diameter. Then I drew a center line here
and I went a ½ inch on each side of this center point here, scribed lines here, and then I ran diagonal lines where the arc intersected the horizontal line down to here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to punch a hole clearance for 1/4 inch, because when you make, sorry, my fingers are in the way. When you make a bunch of these, and you can make them in any increments you want. This is 6-inch diameter. You can start at 1 inch and go all the way up to, 18 or 20 inches. And you can do them in 1-inch increments or ½ inch or 1/4 inch increments, whatever your needs are. But, and of course, for my metric buddies, you use corresponding metric measurements. But anyway, this hole that I'm going to punch here, you put all your radiuses together with a 1/4 inch or 10 millimeter screw or bolt, and then just spin a wing nut on there, and or you just hang them on a hook on the wall, however you want to do it. And you got them handy when you need to measure a radius. And you can go really nuts with this. You can make them concave and convex. So when you're measuring and you need to measure a radius on the convex side, you've got that as well. So, all right, now I'm going to cut this out. These little snips aren't going to do it. Let's get the bowl snips out. These aviation snips I'm using are Craftsman's, and I bought them decades ago when I was working commercial architectural sheet metal. Clear the area. Don't fight the area. That's what I used to tell the young guys. Don't fight the area. And of course, I never obey my own rules. Do as I say, not as I do. Now, I'm taking small nibbles here. And I'm doing that because if you take larger bites, it's real easy to miss your line and leave a jagged cut. You get all those little sharp burrs along your line, and you wind up hooking yourself on that, and then you utter language you shouldn't utter. Remind myself, my grandkids watch this channel from time to time. I gotta behave myself. All right. Sorry, noise alert. So, as you can see, there's none of those little annoying, little sharp burrs along here. I can rub my fingers along there. Those are still good sharp snips after 45 years. And I don't even have to run a file over that. I probably will just out of force of habit. But you don't have to. If you take a little extra time with these and just about half cut. That's what I do, about a half cut on the jaw, and don't snip all the way to the end. That's guaranteed to leave those little burrs. Cut down to within about a 1/4 inch or so at the end, and then reset and go again. Let's punch a hole in this.
So I put that little mild center punch in there. That will give the point on the die of my Whitney Punch something to fit in. There we go. Now you can make a bunch of these, all different sizes, and run a bolt in here with a wing nut and keep them all together. And if you need to measure a radius, let's do that. Hang on. Let's see what I got left after I did my little pipe anvil trick the other day. Come on, Stuart, dead air time. They're waiting. So, this is something I formed in the pipe anvil. You take your radius gauge, set that in there like so. That tells you, if you're looking for a 6-inch diameter or a 6-inch radius, that tells you if you're too sharp and you got to loosen it up a little bit, or you haven't gone far enough. And that's how you can use these diameter gauges. If I said radius gauge, sorry, it's a diameter gauge. And real useful tool when you're doing a lot of stuff, round work, a lot of round sheet metal work, or arcs and curves and things like that. These diameter gauges come in handy. Takes a lot of guesswork out of it. Okay, finally, on a channel note, the other day I was doing my cement pour video and showing you guys the landscaping. I mentioned that we're going to do a channel name change because there's another Matt Stewart out there. I guess he's a comedian. I haven't seen his channel, but he's been there a while, and anytime you look for me or whatever, that guy pops up and overshadows what I'm doing. So I put the call out to you viewers. Give me some suggestions for a channel name, and I got a few. I'm going to share them with you. What I'd like you to do is pick your favorite and then put that in the comments on this video. And then I'm going to select, from whatever comes out on top from the majority of the viewers that pick a name. So the first one is 30 miles north, in reference to my location from the Mexican border. Matt's Arizona Farmalls and Fabrications, because, if you've been with me for a while, I'm an international and Farmall tractor fan. Matt, Jack of all trades. Well, there would be some that dispute that. Arizona Matt. The Arizona Fabric Cobbler, Arco. And my personal favorite, inspired by my wife, the Scrap Whisperer. Yeah. Scrap. That pretty much sums me up. Anyway, there you go. Those are what's in the running for a channel name. You guys vote in the comments, and we'll see where it goes. In the meantime, go grab some scrap sheet metal. Go make some diameter gauges. Boy, that blends right in with my black coat. Go make some diameter gauges, and I'll label these. This is 6-inch. And make a bunch of those to suit your needs, whatever you're building frequently. Useful tool. You won't use them a whole lot, but when you need them, they're handy. There you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you later.